You're trying to farm a specific legendary aspect when suddenly you hear that magical sound and...
Whoa! This is worthless.
You carry on farming for that specific legendary aspect.
Hello, my fellow dwellers of Sanctuary. How fares you this fine day? I hope the answer is well, but no matter what your answer, I wish to make it even better with what we're about to talk about, what I'm about to share, because essentially this boils down to a very easy way to massively increase your chances of getting the specific legendary aspect or unique that you're after. Hunting them down can be quite the, let's call it, time-consuming pain. If you need something very specific to make a build you want to try work to improve your current build, or to just get one you already have but a better roll, you can be waiting a long while and cycling through a lot of legendaries. So let's go over how we can game the system and massively improve that process and get you getting the legendary aspect that you need much quicker. So what's the core of this then? Well, to use an easy example, let's take a Sorcerer aspect. This one specifically, Binding Embers. The Flame Shieldy Phasey Immobilizey, though what it does doesn't matter, it's to help explain this. This legendary aspect can drop on gloves, helmet, chest, boots, and your amulet. So whenever one of those 6 pieces of gear drops as legendary and you pick it up, you might have got this aspect that you're after. But the thing is, the chances for it to be each of those 6 types of gear are not equal. You have a 3% chance on your amulet for it to be Binding Embers when it drops. However, if you look at the helmet slot, there is a 14% chance for it to be Binding Embers. That's nearly 5 times. Or if we go even further and look at boots, there is a 23% chance for boots to have the Binding Embers. Now, I should note that that percent chance isn't absolute odds relative to every other, because obviously there's lots of potential aspects on boots, but relative to the other slots, it's 23%. So ideally, if you're hunting down Binding Embers, you want all the legendary items that are dropping to be boots, because they have the highest chance of giving you what you're after. And you might be saying, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. You want the slot that has the highest chance to have that aspect to drop, so you get the aspect quicker. Cool, but that doesn't really help because, you know, drops are random. Well, it helps in actually a few ways. 3 ways to be specific. The first of which is, as you might guess, the gambling obol vendor. Because now that you know that boots are the way to make this happen, well then you can very specifically target by boots, and then you are increasing your odds to their maximum of it happening. And there you go, it really is that simple. Sorry, I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better point proven with the concept I'm putting across here. We got a legendary boots, it's got the highest chance of all of the slots of having Flame Shield aspect, and indeed it came with the Flame Shield Binding Embers, and well, there you go, the first buy that I did. Obviously, I did get lucky there, but the principle is self-evident. If you know which slot of gear the legendary aspect you need is most likely to appear on, then we can combine that with the obol gambling vendor and being able to specifically choose what to buy to get it as quickly as possible. But it goes beyond just obols just gambling. The same, of course, applies to the Red Dust Seeds of Hatred PvP gambling vendor. And the 2 ways it goes beyond that, well, thus, there are, of course, a selection of aspects that are all class aspects, such as Aspect of Disobedience, which is the single best survivability aspect in the game, and essentially everyone should be running it. So if you wanted to get that, let's say you have alts, you're not just running your main character, you are running alts too. Why does that help? Well, let's say you have a Necromancer alt and you want Aspect of Disobedience. Well, the thing is, Necromancers out of every class have the least amount of class-specific leg aspects that can drop. Which means on a Necromancer, you have a relative 28% chance to get Aspect of Disobedience on any given legendary legs that drop, whereas that goes all the way down to 15% chance on Rogue. So ideally, if you want Aspect of Disobedience on your main, hop to your Necromancer alt, head to the Obel vendor, and gamble away at legs. I realise that one is more niche, because not everyone has alts, not everyone has high enough level alts, and so on and so forth, but it is something worth pointing out if that is a situation you find yourself in. The third way that this can actually play to your advantage, this knowledge then, and we'll go over where you too can get the knowledge on every single legendary aspect and what class and slot it's more likely to drop on in a moment, but the next way you can take advantage of that, to use our Binding Embers as the example too, is by farming the correct type of enemy. We did a little guide to this recently, but to reiterate, every enemy type, every enemy group, such as bandits or drowned or spiders, has an increased chance, and by increased I mean 5 times the chance, to drop a specific category of loot. So as we know, Binding Embers is most likely to appear on boots. Drowned category of enemy, their most common enhanced drops are scythes, two-handed maces, both of which aren't dropping for sorcerers, and then boots and trousers. So if I deliberately go do chain either nightmare or normal dungeons that has a high density of drowned, well then I have suddenly given myself a 5 times chance for any legendary that drops while I'm killing drowned to be a boots, and then the boots has the highest chance to have Binding Embers, so I have now given myself the maximum likelihood of getting the specific aspect I'm after to drop, instead of just randomly doing dungeons everywhere and hoping for the best. And to fully tie this example up in a bow, the dungeon that has the highest density of drowned is the Ruins of Eridu, so I would just run that on repeat and hope that the boots drop and hope that the boots have Binding Embers, and in that instance that hope is backed up by the highest statistical likelihood. If you are wondering then what each type of enemy is most likely to drop, so you can use this information yourself, then I will leave our video going over every single type of enemy and where you can farm them the most effectively, both in Nightmare and not, down below for you to go over at your own leisure. Past that then, I will also link down below a wonderful tool by Diablo4.life to make this all possible. It is their gambling tool, meant specifically just for best odds at the Obel vendor, but I wanted to extend it out into how we can combine it with farming the correct type of enemies. So, to actually give it a spin for you, this is what we did for Sorcerer. Simply click Sorcerer, and I want myself the utility, I want Binding Embers, and the most optimal item to gamble is Boots on Sorcerer. We know this because we have the chance table down here, and we see that Boots is significantly the highest likelihood, and then you can just do that for all of the classes. As a quick note then, the highest chance to get any neutral all-class defensive comes from legs on Necromancer. The highest chance to get any neutral all-class offensive is gloves on Barbarian. The highest chance to get any resource is rings on everyone but Sorcerer. The highest chance for utility and mobility is boots on Druid, as a alt roll your Obel's guide, or if that happens to be your main and it's something you need. Everything else I'll let you look at and figure out and then apply to the concepts I've talked about, but I hope that does give you a, oh, okay, yeah, that works moment, because it really is the best and most efficient way to target farm any legendary aspect you need as quickly as possible. I hope this has proven useful, and until next time, please consider both liking, subscribing, and supporting us on Patreon so we can keep bringing you this goodness. Until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.